Good morning. Cheers, everyone. Awkward morning. Oh, that's hot. Some technical difficulties. Ooh, what happened to my logo thing here? Hang on. Did I fix that? Okay. And lock it. Hi. So, yeah, very funny, Alan. Get a PC. Buy a PC. No, it wasn't a Mac issue. It wasn't my desk. It's my microscope, or my camera from my microscope is not turning on. So that's a bit frustrating. I was just looking for an alternative that I can use as a camera over there. Well, that's a longer story, which I'll go get into in a moment. But I found an old. I found an old, like a GoPro type thing I bought ages ago. It's a wide camera, wide angle lens, and so I was going to see if I can get that connected and working. But it's the micro HDMI, and I don't have a connector to go from that to my input. I need like a female to female. So I couldn't get that working. Some of you might remember a while ago, I got this, which I bought this specifically to go on the desk there and to be kind of like a portable camera. It looks like a DSLR, but it's not, right? It's just a digital camera. It's one of those really cheapy ones from China. This is before you could get, this is 2 years ago, before you could get them on Amazon and stuff. And it's just a digital point and click. And the problem with it is there's no way to lock the focus. When you're in autofocus mode, you can't focus and then lock it. And there's no manual focus mode other than position, because none of these things actually change. None of the dials will work, right? And the other problem is when you're in HDMI
Fartman
mode.
says loud noises everyone.
Hey, Christian. When you're in HDMI output mode, you can't take the heads-up display, the interface that's on the screen. You can't take that off. So you get that through the HDMI, which is just really frustrating.
Al 9000 says, here's Johnny.
So it's really frustrating when that, So anyway, I bought a more modern, feature-packed version of something like this from Amazon the week before, and had a lot more. It looked like it had a lot more potential. Had proper autofocus, and you could lock it and all that sort of stuff. But you still, when in HDMI mode, you still couldn't turn off the on-screen display, and it's just infuriating. So I returned it to Amazon because it was pointless, and I've yet to find one of these cheapy cameras that allows you to not have the on-screen display go out via the HDMI, or just a way to turn it off. I don't mind if it's on when the UI's turned on, but you should be able to turn that UI off. Like on my proper DSLR that's sitting here, I can, there's I'm not sure if you can see there, that's got on-screen display there, but that doesn't go through the HDMI. Anyway, so I try to find a solution for there. I've even got a camera mount that I've had for a while, which I put on like an articulated arm, and got some lighting for that section. I wanted to be able to take some nice video when I'm assembling stuff, but also show you nice video when I'm streaming, rather than trying to do it through the microscope. But the problem is I can't find a reasonably priced camera to do it, and I'm not buying that's the thing, Brennan. I'm not spending $800 or $1,000 on a camera to go there, like to buy even a second-hand Lumix, a G9, or like I found a second-hand G7, but it's body only, so I still have to buy lenses for like $700. I'm not spending that type of money on a camera to go there for the once a week, once a fortnight thing, right? It just doesn't make any sense. To spend $150 on a camera, maybe, but hack the camera's firmware, maybe not. So I'm in a situation now where I've got everything I need to build those boards today, but I've got no way of showing you anything. Like, there's just no camera output. I did get that other camera going, interestingly. Oops. So this other one I got for downstairs, that came with my microscope downstairs, that I couldn't get going the other week when I tried. I've actually got, excuse me, I've got it going now via a cam link, so the picture is fine, and it was what I thought it was. It's just it's not a standard HDMI signal coming out, so it needs to go through something to get into my ATEM Mini. The problem with this is designed for a much longer focal length, like on the microscope. The mount that sits on my microscope downstairs is like this far away from the entry point, where on my other one it's only this far, and so I can't get this in focus on that. And I had a whole bunch of adapters, but they don't fit, so I need to get a new adapter for this. So I'm left with no vision near my microscope today, which is really frustrating. Not what I expected. It was working the other day, but it's just not working today anymore. Okay, I've missed what a lot of you have said. Let me go through and say hi to folks in the chat, and then I'll read back on all. I'm sure you've all given me suggestions on things I can buy. So Alan, good morning. Antonio, Yumbo Prime, hello. How was your restaurant last week? Your food? You didn't send any over. Oink to Jishipu. Mr. Who, hello. John, hello John. Fat Boys Aviation, hello. Michael, good morning. AJ, hello. Peter, hi. We're gonna have some bamboo rants. So Brennan, hello. What was there left on battery? 2:30 a.m. Happy New Year. Thanks, mate. 4% on battery. Go to sleep. What are you doing up at 2:30 a.m. anyway? Platinum 21. You shouldn't have to burn any fuses to get flash working on the ESP32. So, suggest there's something else going on. Adam, did I say hi to Adam? Yeah, we already said hi to Adam. We did. I'll say hi to Adam again. Dutch Taurus, hello. Joe42, hey. Okay, I've scrolled too far, going back. X Micron, hi David. Hertz, hello. I'm sure I've missed people. Embedded Hobbyist, woohoo. Christian, hello. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if my eyes are going blue now. What the hell? So did I maybe buy the wrong type of what? Flash? Have you got is it an ESP? What ESP32 is it? Is it a module? Is it silicon? Which version? It could be worse. My Sony SLT had the HUD stuck on the output and the footage shifted partially off screen. Oh, that's a bit crazy. Okay. Well, yes, that would be worse. But I really don't want to be streaming with a heads-up display. Like, it takes up... It's not like a really modern camera or, you know, a high-quality camera. Like, it takes up more than a third of the screen, the HUD. It's ugly. And it's low res. Like, they just obviously it's a low res buffer that they're plastering it on. Anyway, it's just really bad. Okay, so who was saying, great, so it's a 50%, alright, yep. They're terrible, I mean, they're cheap. They're designed to, like, if you just, you know, like the cheapy fake ones, right? They're designed to just record video or to take a photo and straight onto SD card, right? And if you do that, there's no picture, there's no HUD. But if whatever's on the heads up, whatever's on the screen is what you get through the HDMI output. They're not really designed to do what I want to do, I guess. But it's just frustrating because it looks like they all have that limitation. Okay, so I'm just going back and reading. I missed some things. Someone mentioned a Canon. Look, I know there are options. I didn't really want to buy a DSLR because it's going to sit there doing nothing most of the time. And if I'm going to buy a DSLR, I'd rather buy another Lumix because I've got a bunch of lenses and I can share lenses, right? I don't have to go and buy new lenses. Lenses are the expensive part. I mean, a body by itself, or even a second-hand body, is still, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, but the lenses are expensive. So I'd have to get something that was lens compatible, or get something that was more of a point and click, like a Sony VX camera or something. But they're still $900, and I'll be totally honest with you, it's absolutely cannot afford to spend $900 on a camera, let alone a camera that's going to get used very rarely. So, Rota! Hello, Rota. How are you? Happy New Year. It's been a while. Look for cameras that have clean but, well, I've never seen that as a thing. Like, I went through the listings meticulously. Like, a lot of them they advertise don't even have HDMI output, right? So the first challenge is finding one that's actually got HDMI output. And HDMI output that's actually good quality. So I've also didn't buy, but looked at, had in my hands a similar type camera that did let the display off. But the quality of the visuals out of the HDMI were like terrible. They weren't 1080p. They were I don't know what it was, but it was up-resed and it just looked really bad. So yeah, I want something that also has good quality. 150 AUD. What's 150 AUD? You have to go to a physical store and try it. Right, but the physical stores don't have these cheapy cameras. Like, yeah, as I said, I don't know. I need to solve the microscope thing though. So I'm gonna have to order some type of an adapter extension for that other camera, the microscope camera, so I can get rid of this one. I mean, I've had this camera for a long time, and you know, it's never been a fantastic camera, but it's done its job. But now I can't get anything out of it.
Alan Madsen says print on.
So a Raspberry Pi 5, a HQ camera, it's not really the solution I want. I mean, I've got that here and I can do that. But, you know, and I've got other USB cameras and I can do it via USB camera, but I wanted something that that had proper camera control, like that I could focus, that I could zoom in and focus and do stuff so I can get really nice footage. Not really something that, you know, that I want to be setting up a Raspberry Pi and a Pi camera for. I don't really think it'll give me what I want. Well, it's a U-Blox Nora. It apparently doesn't include the flash. Okay, I don't know what that U-Blox Nora is, but yeah, maybe you just haven't wired up your flash properly, but you don't need to burn any fuses to get flash working. Flash will just work, but it's got to be NOR flash, it's got to be, you know, quad, it's got to be wired up correctly, powered and wired up correctly, it's got to be the right type of flash, the right speed. So, Canon EOS Mark M50 Mark II. Sure, but it's a that's a DSLR, isn't it? M50 Mark II. Well, it's not a joke, Adam. I mean, it could. So, the image quality of the Pi cameras are pretty good for the camera, but they're not the right type of camera for what I want to do. Right, that's all. And you know, and you can't get a clean 60 frames per second out of them. Like, you get maybe 30 drop frame, but it depends how you're going to connect it up. Anyway, yeah, it's not the worst idea, but it's, yeah. So that's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works. I can sit there and assemble these boards, and you can get to hear me but see nothing. Or I'll abandon that for today. So just to explain what they are, so there's a new revision of my Feather S3, a new revision of my Tiny S3. These are both with onboard antennas, and I've also got a new revision of my Pro S3, although I haven't sent that off to JLC yet. And the main difference with them is they've got a new battery charge IC, a new PMIC, a smaller PMIC, to allow more space to squeeze in an onboard fuel gauge. So rather than using the ADC pin with a divider for battery reading, I was going to update all of my boards to use a fuel gauge, although the fuel gauge is a bit of a fallacy. For those that have used them will know that a fuel gauge won't give you an accurate reading on a battery that you just plug in. It's, you know, they've got to either learn...
John Clayton says, I wouldn't mind the HUD if we get to see the boards as you planned.
Oh, no, it's... Well, yeah. Anyway, sorry, just distracted. So the problem with the fuel gauge is if you just plug a battery in, it's not going to be accurate, right? To get a proper accurate understanding of the battery, it's got to characterize the battery. You need to characterize it, and then you really need a battery that's got a thermistor on it. But it does an okay approximation, but it needs to, it can't be turned on and off all the time, the fuel gauge. It needs to kind of be powered from the battery all the time, even if your device isn't powered, and it needs to like go through a full cycle to really understand the battery. And if you change battery capacities, then it goes back to being vaguely accurate but not really accurate. And so my belief has always been that it doesn't give you, although it gives you a percentage and stuff like that, I never found them to be that much better than just making up the numbers yourself via an ADC, through a divider, unless you were locked onto one battery type only and it had enough data to be able to really let you know. But I guess it just makes sense to move forward with fuel gauges on them. Gonna go count sheep. Yeah, it's good to have you here, Brennan. Thank you. Have a good sleep. You should have been asleep anyway. You shouldn't have stayed up for the start of the stream. That's crazy. Hope you don't have to work tomorrow. But look after yourself. So anyway, that's all it really is. Otherwise, functionality, they're the same. I was planning on changing them. I did a poll on Twitter a couple of weeks ago. The fuel gauge ICs are meant to be attached to the battery. What do you mean by attached to the battery? You mean powered from the battery and stay powered? That's how I've wired mine up, yeah. Obviously that reduces the battery life, because even if your project isn't powered, and so even if you know what I mean, like you're still chewing the battery by powering the gauge, but that's how it's supposed to be connected. If you power the gauge by 3.3 volts and you disable the 3.3 volts, I'll stay with the battery, or well, not in the case of something like this. Well, normally with a product with a battery where the battery's fixed, the battery is always with the product, right? Panel applications calculation based on voltage is good.
HAL 9000 says, "Sir, don't chew batteries as they are toxic."
Right. I think, look, from my experience, I've used fuel gauges for a little while now. Obviously, on my Tiny Watch, and my OMG S3 has a fuel gauge on it. Look, the fuel gauge does give a better result than the ADC. You don't have to worry about the attenuation configuration of the ESP32, because obviously it doesn't default to 3.3 volts. And if you change the attenuation, and that makes the divider invalid that's on there that I'm using and stuff like that. So there are complications with using a divider through an ADC. On the ESP32, if it was a standard 3.3 volt ADC, that would eliminate that, but it's not. So I think the fuel gauge is a better option, although it adds costs, right, and stuff like that. But squeezing them on was difficult, because it's not just the IC, but there's 5 passives. If you look at the pull-ups for the I2C bus, but it does give you a better result if you're not plugging in the battery all the time stuff. If you've got a project that's got a battery, like a wearable project or something, where the battery's staying on and you charge it via the USB connector and stuff, then you will get better results from the fuel gauge over time. Not all batteries are toxic. What, to eat? Okay, well, lemon's not really a battery. It just got battery characteristics. Hello, half Greek geek. And Christian, hello. Was that, no, Christian. Has Christian changed his avatar? Have I missed anyone else? So anyway, this whole camera thing's thrown me. John, I hear what you say about seeing the HUD, but I haven't. It's not set up. I'd have to go and set it all up, and I'd have to rewire everything. I'd have to run HDMI. I'm at a point now where I'm annoyed, and I don't know if I want to face doing it now. So I'll understand if everyone's going to rage quit the stream. Yeah, I'm frustrated this other camera that I bought wasn't the solution I thought it was going to be. And yeah, let me just try powering this microscope up, the camera one more time. It's not the power supply, I've already swapped that. But it's, no, it's just not turning on. Yes, I could pull it apart and see what's wrong and see if I can fix it. I could, but no, don't have the, because the 32, the WinBond chip should be fine. Oh, that's pretty small. That's only, I guess it's 4 meg, it's fine. A new word for you in this case is I'm perturbed. I woke up with a headache. I knew as soon as I woke up with a headache this morning, I thought, it's going to be a bad stream. I wish I had an adapter. That little camera I showed you, that would work. I just need an adapter, and I don't have. Hang on. No. I've got stacks of male to female. I need female to female, or I need a I need a female to female as a middle, or I need a female to micro. I have a female to mini, but I don't have a female to micro. I could buy one off Amazon, and had I have known, I could have got one off Amazon. Oh, Adam, careful. So, we could talk about bamboo instead. I know Peter Homan wants to. I know Peter wants to get into a... I gotta say, I was less annoyed with their... this is what we're gonna do with our update and lock everyone out, blah, 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 then... Like, that worried me less than... finding out from Lewis's video about the shady shit that they pulled about updating their website without saying anything, and then accusing them of misinformation. I think that was badly done, badly handled. Is everyone aware of what we're talking about? I believe there were no vegans on the menu. That's funny. That's very funny. Yeah. Wow. I'm completely disheveled now. Completely disheveled. So, yeah. Can we reset? We need a reset. Can we go back to
9000
Tuesday?
says save the planet. Eat vegans.
Is there a limit to how big one can use for Flash? There are... I think, well, it depends on the chip. But if it's an S3, I think 128 megabytes, no, 128 megabytes is the addressable limit, but I don't think they've got support for that. I think they've got support for 64, up to 64 now, but yeah. A closed OS isn't a problem for me. It's them removing features on an existing printer that you've already bought. I think that's wrong. And telling people that, we'll just stay on the current version, and then you don't have to, if you don't update, you won't lose those features. I think that's wrong. You don't do that to customers who've already bought your stuff. You don't do that to the customers that have built your company for you, right? So I was actually about to buy a second bamboo. I was going to buy an A1 to go next to my X1 Carbon and get rid of the Mark III. So I wanted consistent printing. Well, no, they're not forcing updates. No, so that was interesting. They took that away because that actually But that's the whole thing, that they were hiding stuff, right? But that whole, your printer may become unusable if you don't keep the firmware thing updated. They actually, that was brought up by people years ago, a year ago, when they first came out. And apparently that was never going to happen, that you were going to be forced to do that. and they've removed that now. That's right. So that I think that was something they just forgot to remove a while ago, and they should have, because that's the thing that got people upset. What are you using Orca Slicer right now? Anyway, I use Bamboo Studio, not Orca Slicer, but no, you don't. You can run it in LAN mode. You don't need internet access for the printer. Like, you can completely keep it off the internet and use it. There's some functionality you don't get, but it's not functionality that prevents you from printing. It's just functionality that prevents you from, being able to, have one place that you can manage all your printers, that you can, and then view them externally and, start a job externally and blah, 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 right? Which is fair enough. Like, you shouldn't expect to be able to manage your local network only printer from somewhere else if it's local only. I never had a problem with that. Although they weren't overly transparent about what you could and couldn't do at the start anyway when you're in LAN mode. Like when you're in LAN mode, you've got no discoverability of the printer, which is kind of stupid because you can do discoverability in LAN mode. But, well, anyway, you had no discoverability when I first got it. I mean, there've been a million updates since then, so I don't know. Yeah, so they don't force you into an online ecosystem. You're not forced into it, but there's a lot of things that you get if you go into it. And I never had a problem with their online stuff, although sometimes, it wasn't overly stable. When you send it to your printer via their online system, they actually fixed it in the last update that I added, that it became really slow to send. Like sometimes, it could be a small job, a couple of megabytes, and it would take, 5-6 minutes to send it to the printer, which is just stupid. They actually fixed that. They found a bug and they fixed it, and it's super fast to send it now. Here's open source Clipper firmware, so you can keep for. Yeah, I understand that, John. I get that, but I think that whole. I personally, I've discussed this before on the channel. I think that whole open firmware versus closed firmware thing is a non-issue. Like it's. I'm not saying you, so I apologise. I'm not saying you, but it's more a point of entitlement by people than anything else. If a company has got closed source firmware, but they're maintaining and updating their printer, or they're fixing bugs, then it's not a problem. Like having closed firmware shouldn't be an issue if they're maintaining the firmware for the hardware. If they ever stop updating it and they leave bugs in it that they never fix, well, that's not great, right? But they shouldn't do that. Like a company shouldn't be forced to have open source or use open source firmware for their products. Like, I think that's just ridiculous. I get pushback on that all the time with my Reflow Master Pro, and I'd 100% agree with people if I wasn't updating it, maintaining it, or adding features, but I am, and it does everything as advertised and more. Like, people have got more functionality in their Reflow Master Pro now than they ever thought they were going to get or expected when they first bought it. And so, what's there to complain about that it's not open source? But I agree. For if you're not maintaining it, if the company's not maintaining the software, the firmware, they're not fixing bugs, or they're not doing it in timely fashion, I think then that becomes a problem. But that still doesn't mean that it should be open source. People could write their own firmware easily for Reflow Pro. Is that the same true of printers? No, absolutely not. Well, I never said it was equal hardware. And yeah, I also published the schematic for Reflow Master Pro, so people could write their own firmware if they wanted to. I don't have any way of locking people out from running someone else's firmware on my ReefloMaster, on my hardware, and I wouldn't. And that's kind of what they're, I guess, trying to do. Yes, I agree, Michael. I get that, but that has nothing to do with the open or closed firmware thing, right? That's to do with business policies that are not great. And like, I wonder if some of the reason they're locking some of these things down is because they've got a new printer coming out that has comparable functionality or new functionality. In fact, that's the bait and switch issue. Sure, I understand, John. I know what you're saying, and in the case of what Bamboo are doing is not nice. I agree, but that's still not an open or closed source discussion. That's just a bad business practice discussion. I get that you won't have that problem, right? But still, it's not a problem that should be solved with open sourcing firmware or only using open source firmware. It should be solved by companies not doing this stuff in the first place. I think it's an integrity issue, not a what licensing is the firmware issue, ultimately. So look, I'm really surprised that they've done this, but yeah, I think that they've got a new printer coming out that's going to have some new features that isn't on their current range, but that could be added to their current range by third parties, and they don't want that to happen because it's going to make their new printers become, they want people to buy new printers to upgrade their current ones, right? Not, so they upgrade their current ones to their new printers, Bamboo printers, not retrofit their old ones with a third party add-on. And I think that's, I think we're so close to them having a new printer coming out that I think that could be a really valid reason why they're doing this right now. Hey, Yumbo. Yeah, I know, John. As I said, it wasn't to do with your specific situation. But, look, I've got a sore point with the whole, as I said, I get a lot of pushback from people about, I get, 1 or 2 emails or 3 emails a month from people. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, it used to be a lot more, but it's been consistent for years. Hey, I've found your ReefloMaster, source code and design files online, but I can't find your ReefloMaster Pro ones. Where are they, please? Sorry, ReefloMaster, my original one is open source, fully open source, hardware and software. ReefloMaster Pro is not open source. Or why not? Like, why would I bother buying it then? Like, well, because you want a reflow solution. Like, you're buying a reflow solution, you're not buying a design files for a project that you can then do what you want with. Like, that's not what I'm selling. I'm selling a reflow solution. And I'm selling a good reflow solution, which works reliably. So, so I'm a bit sensitive on this stuff. But, I think they might come out with a bigger size, but I think they've also, I think if they don't innovate, like if their next printer is just a bigger printer, I don't think they're going to be able to do much in the marketplace. Or I don't think it would have anywhere the same level of impact. I could just picture you now, John, with your sword and your shield, running around hammering people. Open source. No, I'm kidding. Been watching too many Dungeons and Dragons videos on YouTube over the last week, so sorry. Had that mental picture in my head. I think Bamboo would have to do a lot more than just make a bigger printer for their next thing to be as relevant in the marketplace than what they were when they changed things. I think as good as the AMS is, in terms of its cost and simplicity compared to the next competitor, which is the MMU3 by Prusa. I know other people have got AMS-like things now, but they're just the same as the AMS. I'm talking about the next thing, which is multicolour but not an AMS, right? Which would be the MMU3, which is like twice the price and takes up 4 times the amount of space as the AMS. I think, I think Bambu would have to do something. Yeah, I would hope that their next printer is a multi-head printer. Bigger, whatever. It doesn't have to be bigger for me. But if they had a multi-head printer, like the Prusa XL, or like the Vorons that are coming out multi-head, I think if they don't go multi-head, they're going to become irrelevant. Because I think multi-head is the way to solve. It's the way to do things properly now, when it comes to multicolour or multi-material. Right? I think multi-material is just as important as multicolour, and I think some of the new materials that are coming out now, even from Bambu, with regard to like strength and stuff, like but they need such broader temperature ranges, so mixing them, with a single head printer is just impossible. Like I have been doing a bit of multi-material printing, like PETG and PLA, for like you do printing PLA with PETG supports to be able to remove them cleanly and to get really nice clean finishes on the PLA. I'd much rather be doing ABS with PETG to do that, but I can't do ABS and PETG on a single head printer because the temperature range is too different. The temperature range between the PETG and the PLA is close enough that you can do it. You have to go to a multi-head printer, and I think that's where they have to go for them to stay relevant. The firmware is theirs and not cloned. No problem with being closed. Yeah, their firmware is there. Right, I don't think Bambu have done the whole we're using other people's technology but closed sourcing it. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I've never heard anything like that about their stuff. Right, and so they've improved the AMS in terms of the poop rate, the amount and the rate they have, but it's still it's a cheap way of doing multicolour, and it's been great for a lot of people, but there's way too much wastage and stuff, and you definitely, firstly, you don't want to do that. You can't have that level of wastage when you're using very expensive.
Chad has disconnected.
When you're using very expensive materials, you don't want that wastage. But also the speed, like how much extra time it takes to do the transitions between the different colours is a lot. Like it's, between a quarter and a third of the print time is just changing colours, where, the Prusa XL doesn't have that problem. It doesn't have the wastage problem. It doesn't have the time wastage or the material wastage problem. And I would have had a Prusa XL here a year ago if it wasn't so expensive. And now that all those, Voron teams, people have got, I know they're not overly reliable at the moment, not compared to a Prusa, but they've got all those, multi-head systems going now, and people have been, I don't know if anyone's been watching, any of the videos or progress with any of those things. I have a bit at a time. I can't see myself ever building a Voron. I don't have the patience to build a 3D printer, but it's been really impressive seeing what they've been doing on the hardware side to be able to do a multi-head printer, and then the changes they've been adding to Clipper to support it is really promising. So I think that the next evolution of printers is going to be multi-head, like not multi-head like IDEX, although IDEX is still interesting. The Ratrig guys have solved the IDEX issues that have plagued all the previous printers. So I was actually looking, their IDEX upgrade wasn't out at the time when I was really looking into it. It's out now. It's an expensive printer for me. If I kit it all out, and I still have to do a lot of the assembly myself, it still works out way cheaper than a 2-head Prusa XL. But you all know what an IDEX printer is, right? The 2 heads on the one axis. So they both move this way together, but they move independently this way. So the problem with IDEX printers has always been, how do you get both heads to be level and both heads to be calibrated so you know where the position is exactly, right? And they've always required really janky initial setups, calibration on the printer, but pre-calibration for each head for every job that you start. It's been terrible. The Radrig guys have solved that. They've solved the XY offset issue and the height issue, and it's all automated, so you don't do anything, and it auto calibrates itself every time it starts a print job. And so they've absolutely solved that, and they've got that working on a hybrid Core XY, so it's also really, really fast. So I was definitely really looking into that as an option. So like when I'm printing cases, for instance, Reflow Master Pro cases, I can only fit 3 on the bed on my X1 carbon at a time. I used to be able to get 4, but my X1 over time has been not so great printing at the edges. So, to print 4 on there and then to end up losing 1 or 2 of them because of curled edges, even a little bit, even a little tiny curve means the case won't go together. So being able to do, with an IDEX printer, I'd be able to print the same number twice as fast because I'm printing 2 at a time. I like to buy a Voron mostly because I'd like to keep Reflow nozzle. Spend that huge. Yeah, it's a huge amount of time. The build time, like, it's not like you can buy, at the moment anyway, you can't just buy, here's a Voron kit and here's a bunch of heads. You have to assemble all the actual heads. Like, it's all in pieces. And I would never trust that I would build it correctly. So, I'd end up plagued with printing problems because of my own build. Yeah, Johnny done a lot of multicolour printing on the XL. I think Prusa just needs to get their price down on the XL. It's been out long enough now. So I was waiting to see what new printer Bamboo came out with, but I'm also on the fence of ever wanting to use them again. You mean like the robot arm? Well, yeah, the problem with the robot arm was it was never designed to work with that closed loop system. And at the point of me like I'm looking at it right now. At the point where I stopped working on it, they hadn't solved how the closed loop construction was built in it. Which is why I just stopped working on it. So, if I would have gone for the open loop version, which what the whole robot was designed for, then that would have solved all my problems, right? I would have ended up with a robot that worked and just would have needed a different type of controller board and stuff for it. But I chose the closed loop, not realizing, I knew it wasn't 100% ratified, but it was actively being worked on, right? But I didn't realize just how untested, or how how incompatible the design was from the closed loop. Anyway, whatever. I'll go back to that one day, maybe. I'm not on the Discord server anymore. I'm not going to go into it. Had a bit of an altercation with someone on there and decided I don't need this in my life, and so I left. Haven't been on there for the last video I made, last stream I did on the robot. I think I left their Discord server a couple of days later. Any of the Winbond ones should work. Yeah, the W25 ones should work. Yeah, that 64 just means there's 8 mega flash. Yep. So I'd be looking at how you're wiring it up. So, you know, how it's being powered, how are you, you sure it doesn't have flash in it? Yeah, I don't know what Maxell, or what it is. So, I mean, it might be fine, but I'd be looking at how you wired it up. I mean, you can jump on my Discord server and post some, you know, schematic, whatever, so we can have a look at and review it. I'm bummed. I'm bummed about this camera situation. So what else can we talk about then? I don't know. I don't want to gore post. What? You don't want to share the gore of what you've I still haven't got my P4 samples. So for those of you that aren't aware, the current boards that are out right now that have the P4 on it, and the chips that you can get, they're all pre-production chips. They're not production chips. Some of them were initial short-run production chips, but they're not the mass production ones. And they've already skipped. Yeah, don't worry about the 0.1V, because, you know, I'm using 0.2V production silicon on, like, they don't go to 1.0 when it's in production, right? So that's not what you need to worry about. But so the samples, I was going to be getting what they call Eco 2 samples, but their initial chip design they were going to do, they found some issues, and so they didn't go into mass production, but they're the ones that are out there right now. And then they were going to do what they called an Eco 2, and before they went into production of the Eco 2, they found some more issues, and so they're now looking at manufacturing an Eco 3. And so I was going to get Eco 2 samples, but they bumped me to the Eco 3 samples because there's no Eco 2 being done. And so hopefully Eco 3 will go into sample production and then mass production. And so I'm waiting on those chips. I didn't want to touch the current silicon around right now because USB on the go doesn't work on them. So that kind of defeats the purpose of them when you got to add your own external UART chip, or you got to use their internal UART or add your own. You can't do native USB, and there was also some other issues, and there's a pin change on them between that silicon and the final one. Although some of that silicon that's out now has the pin change, it was slightly later, and some of it doesn't. So it didn't make any sense to me. I've already designed a board. Obviously I haven't validated it because I don't have any silicon, but I don't really see a use for it, really. I think, yeah, there's plenty of chips on the market that have no Wi-Fi connectivity, like Wi-Fi Bluetooth, that are really good processors that are already out there that people could be using. The P4 is too big for a basic MCU, chip board that you're driving LEDs up with, right? Which, let's face it, a lot of people do. And then, but it's not quite powerful enough to run a full Linux operating system. So it's kind of like in between. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what people do with them. They'll be definitely great for things like, driving, automotive displays and stuff like that, driving screens, even with the camera input, with the DSI and CSI inputs, great, right? But most of my stuff is boards that people make other things with, and I don't know what people are going to use a P4 for. So what is happening right now on their side? They said to us it'll be end of December. Yeah, there's a lot of issues with the current silicon. Yeah, and as I said, they found more issues. They keep bumping. So it's the same with the C5 is still not at sample level. They did some early boards and modules with them that they sent out to people, but the C5 still hasn't gone into mass production because they keep bumping the revision there. And then the same with the C61, which is like the C6 but allows external PSRAM and some other things. That's also been bumped and pushed. I'm waiting for samples on all of them. And yeah, but it's kind of getting to the point where there's just too many chips, and having lots of boards with lots of different chips that have all slightly different features, and it's just what for? Like, how many boards do people need? How many variations do people need? So you have to remember, especially if their chips are driven by their large-scale customers, that the chip functionality is not driven by makers or people like us, who tinker with their hardware. Like it's, they make their chips for customers. The customers tell them what functionality they want in a chip, and they make them at the millions scale for those customers. And the fact that we get access to those chips are great, but they're not designed and driven by what the maker community want, right? Or even what small business wants. We get to use what they have. We don't get to decide what they give us. Does that make sense? You can leverage the RDF. What? I guess the idea. You can leverage the RDF. You can leverage the RDF with any of the chips though. And you can use any chip to do a taco. Like even the C6 is powerful enough to do some really cool on-screen display. Well, it depends on the resolution you want to run and your frame rates and stuff, but they're all, you don't need a P4 to do that. And there are plenty of other chips on the market. If you don't need connectivity, like radio connectivity, there's stacks of other chips on the marketplace that can do all that. I mean, the Raspberry Pi, the RP, is it 2350, whatever it is, would excel at that. You can do HDMI out of that and drive a screen. So yeah. More in these of that. You already have the ESP project and you need sure. Yeah, although there's the H series STM chips are as powerful as the ESP32 P4, more powerful in many respects, and can do super high speed screen stuff. They've got a full graphic engine inside the chips. Like, there's already chips on the marketplace that can do what the P4 can do. Been out for years. So, sure, different ecosystem, but hey, Mad Techie, how you doing? Yeah, I just feel like I'm not sure where the P4 sits for them. I think the P4 is a stepping stone for them to get to the next level, which will be like an SBC chip. I think this is their first foray into going for a proper micro CPU style thing. Could be wrong. I don't know. It's hard to know with them. But the P4 will definitely allow them to break into, you know, the automotive space and the other, the anything with a, you know, screen. Like look at all their demos. Look at all their examples. Everything they're doing that's showcasing and marketing the P4 is all about, you know, driving high res displays fast. Yeah. So if that doesn't scream automotive industry or, you know, any industry that in a smart device industry, then I don't know what does. What does it? All of this stuff. Don't know. It's out of my wheelhouse. Platinum 21. Out of my wheelhouse. I did not get a chance to work on any more firmware on my controller board since last week. Sorry. So I've been waiting on a bunch of components to come in. I was unable to manufacture stuff for a bit, and they came in. Some of it came in last week, so I've been busy manufacturing, and the rest of it came in Monday. So I've been busy manufacturing yesterday, and Monday and Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. Yeah. So haven't had a chance to work on that. Just sitting on the ground over there. I'll get back to that. I've been working on a new Wi-Fi Master Pro update with some new extended functionality, which is cool. And I think I'm ready to send my P8. Wait, is that on? By the right way? Oh, what's with the colour? I don't know what's happening with the colour. White balance. Auto. Okay. ISO. Auto. Is that better? Oops. Can't zoom in anymore. Anyway, I think I'm ready to go into panelizing my new Tiny Watch board. It all works. It's great. The new buttons are much better that I'm using. They're much more clicky. The standoffs, the SMD nuts are working well. Still solving a few issues with the screen. With the case. So because the screws are on one side, which is fine, they're on the USB side. So there's a clip and a lip here that that prevents the, so it gets screwed in there. It prevents this side of the case coming out. So it can't keep it all in focus. The problem is I cut it this way, so when you print it like this, there's no supports inside this section for the band, which is always a pain to do on the old revision. The supports made the band stuff not as good. The downside though is that because the split is right through there, when do I have one somewhere? So is the band. So when the band goes in here, right, to lock that in, which is fine, you can see that it puts pressure on that gap. You see there's a slight thing, and so that's fine on this side because there's a screw holding that together. But on this side, there isn't. There's just this clip. and I'm worried that the clip's going to give way in time and it's going to make it possible to pull it out like that. So when it's screwed together on this side, it's really, like, you can't get the band out, but on this side I think there's going to be enough play here, and I can't put more screws. So that was my original design. The screws like this. This has got the same thing where the band, you see even here, the screw goes in here, but it's going into the plastic, right? So the plastic, there are inserts, none of it is the PCB. But even still, because it's like the stress of the band here can pull that out, and there's nothing holding the screen in on this one. So the screen's clipped in, which means it can fall out. Where with this version, it'll be, the PCB will be stuck to the screen like that. So when it's screwed in, it's all that, the whole thing is locked in and the screen can't come out. Does that make sense? Because it's all stuck together. So there's no chance of, you know, knocking it and pulling the screen out like that. There's really nothing holding this in. Like, even if I screw the battery, even if I screw the screen to the PCB, there's nothing physically holding the PCB in. Oh, that was a silly sound. Another button. Okay, I'll have to fix that later. Where this way, the PCB is physically screwed to the case, so it can't come apart. Make your cut follow the curve at the ends. Make the cut. What? I don't know what make your cut follow the curve at the end means. If you meant make, yeah, doesn't matter how I cut it. It's going to have the same problem. I don't want to cut it in a way that there's an overhang on either side. If I'm going to have an overhang, I might as well not do this at all and make it one piece, right? Because an overhang is an overhang. If there's an overhang with support, then the support is going to cause a problem. And when I multi-material print it, that is better. But for those that want those that want to print their own, if they don't have a multi-material printer, they're going to just end up with a case that doesn't work properly. How is my laser? Which laser? Are you talking about my RGB laser or my laser cutter? What? Adam, what are you talking about when you look at datasheet? Huh? Where you slice the two parts, make the cut leave the entire watch band slot. Right, but then that leaves me with a complete overhang. Like that defeats the entire purpose of this. Otherwise, do you understand? Like, I've already got solutions with an overhang. This is like the current version that I ship. These are printed as one piece. I've already got that. But these are terrible. Like, they work, but I you know, for every 5 of these that I print, like, look, for every 5 of these that I print, I probably have to discard 1 or 2 of them. Because there's just, you know, you just can't print. You can't print this shape and make it tight and sharp enough. I can't even see that well. You can't do that when it's an overhang like this. So, you know, it took me a long time to get this right and get the tolerance right. But good luck anyone else trying to print it. How's the CNC mill doing? It's not doing as much as I'd like it to. Every time I get excited about putting something on there, I end up just 3D printing it instead. What about a teardrop shape for that slot? It is a teardrop shape. It is. That's the point. That's why it's really hard to print. It is a teardrop shape to be able to hold the band. It's a bit hard to see, I guess. It is teardrop. Anyway, there's I needed to solve this, printing it this way, and the only way to do that is like this. And ultimately, this was going to be I wanted to mill this. So, but I can't mill this on a 3-axis printer, 3-axis mill. It would be a nightmare. I definitely can't mill them for, like, you know, I could make one. The top of the teardrop pointing upwards. The top of the... As it, what? Top of the teardrop upwards. There's it's on both sides. So I can't make it upwards. I don't understand. John, I appreciate your help, but like I've made about 1,000 revisions of this. Like this is my sixth design. That was my third. This is my 6th design of 2-part. This was like my 7th design of a single part. Like I've been working on this for over a year. Like it's got to be, yeah. Anyway, the reason I didn't want to go like this, which solves the problem mostly, is that the inserts in here remove about 15% of the battery space. And going this method, once this is in, because the come on, because the S&T standoffs are on the side where the USB is, where the battery can't go anyway, I end up with a much bigger area for a battery. Battery. Here's a 500 milliamp battery. I mean that's huge. Sorry, like that's a huge area for a battery now. I know there's a whatever. Anyway, so you know, getting a bigger battery in here was really important. And I can do that now. I've got all this space. Is this the final version? Just be. There's never a final version. Yeah. Anyway, what if the cover is slid into place? Because you can't print a slide-in cover like that. The fidelity of these printers aren't good enough. You know, I need to be printing with a, you know, these have to be manufacturable by me and other people, right? So, slide-in won't help, but a slide-in still won't solve the problem. A slide-in here is still going to have the tension is still going to pull it apart, right? And a slide-in is going to have to mean the wall's going to have to be much thicker, and I'm going to lose a lot more space inside from the slide-in to make it durable, which eats away from the battery. So that was the whole point. Like I'd lose the main reason I made this change was to allow for a bigger battery. Oh, it could absolutely be glued. Right, this could all be solved by permanently putting this together and saying it's being sold as a watch, not as something that's hackable, and never allow people to open it. But the problem is I can't ship it with a battery. So you have to be able to open it to put a battery in. And yeah, that kind of defeats the purpose if I glue it, right? And then relying on other people to glue it. Yeah. I was hoping for something that was easy to open and assemble and disassemble. I even added some pads on here. I know they're tiny and they're not labelled, but these are I/O and power that are broken out. If people want to solder little things to it, they can. I mean, not everyone might want to use this as a watch. They might want to use it as a display for something else. I don't know.
Rick the Almighty says just make the next firmware cloud dependent and charge for it.
Sure, I could do that. Yeah. Here's an open source watch, open source firmware that's, but to use it, you need to sign up for cloud and pay a fortune for it. Yes, badang. So I'm just reading back. For those with a basic desktop mill, would an aluminium or brass backplate be more secure? Possibly, and you know, again, so these were designed to be millable originally. It was actually designed to be millable as one piece. So if anything that's an overhang in here right now is only there because it's in two pieces. Okay? This could be printed in one piece as well, but it's got the overhang issue. But this could be milled. This was designed to be milled in one piece. But if you think of, on a 3-axis mill, the number of operations is just insane, right? Because just of the curvature of it all. You know, there's a this way and a this way, and then every side needs to be done. So it's just really not, you know, if someone wants to send me a 5-axis mill, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, this could be milled. Still, there's still a lot of operations. Well, there'd be, I guess that there would only be 3. So I don't know which side you start with, but like there'd be that, right, around the edges, and then round it out, whatever, drill through, and then it'd need to be flipped, and then this would need to be done, and then here would need to be done to clip in. But I don't know if this being metal would be enough still to prevent, like, it might be enough to, like, you know, there won't be any flex there, but it's still into plastic. I just don't know how that, you know, durable that would be. But, you know, a different material, like a carbon fibre type material, or that really, that tough, whatever PLA or whatever that bamboo have got now, that's apparently really, really tough, really good. Maybe that would be better. I don't know. But it's got to be something I can mass produce at a reasonable time frame, reasonable price, that that other people can also make if they want. You know, print if they want, or modify, whatever. That doesn't need a specialty printer or a specialty material. So that's the problem. Yeah. You know, like I could print
John
this with
Clayton says, are your 3D print files for that case online for download?
Not this case, no. That's not available yet. This one is. It's online. Where's the other half of it? So even this case requires a heat insert to be put into it. And then if anything breaks, and it's also clipped, right? So that clips in like that, and that's fairly sturdy, but then this screw here on one side keeps all that together, and the screen clicks into this, but you know, it's nowhere near as nice. Like part of this process was to make it, you know, a nicer shape, bit more ergonomic on the base, whatever. But you know, look, this works. But when I'm assembling it, if I break a clip after I've put a heat set in, then it's a pain, and you know. Anyway, I'll publish these once I've solved it. When I say solved, once I'm 100% sure that I'm happy with it. There are a few more things I can do. I can thicken up this edge a bit here to make that lip thing a little bit bigger, another like 0.4 millimeters or so. Make some studs that interlock. Well, I've got that, like these here, I've got these sections here, they lock. So that's, you know, they lock in there. But I could make that go across the whole thing, so the whole thing is like that, and make this face a little bit thicker. It can only be a real little bit. I don't really want to make the watch wider, to give it a bit more to grip onto. And I can also print it, you know, with a 0.1 layer height, you know, whatever, blah, 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 but it just takes forever to print. My ketchup is open source. Now has to be kept in the fridge. Oh my God. You guys, so funny, so funny. Like I don't want to order these, even though they're kind of independent, really. But I really didn't want to order these until this was done. I want this to be the last revision. I want it to be the last revision of the hardware and the last revision of the screen. I want to be able to, you know, there's a few more things to sort out. I've got to get the a spot to attach the motor, the haptic motor. You know, the idea was that it was going to go I don't know where it's going to go. Like I want to give people the option of having it on one side or the other side. It solders onto this here, these points there. So technically it can be kind of, you know, placed in different positions. Don't really want to stick it on top of the antenna. So, and obviously where I place that will also take battery height away by like 3 millimeters. So it catches onto the side opposite the screen. Similar design the case with a slot for one piece strap. A one piece. It's still got to attach to both sides, Adam. I don't understand. The one piece, two piece doesn't make any difference. The way the strap attaches to itself is irrelevant. It's got to attach to each side of the screen. Look, I could make it work with, you know, not using these Apple bands.
HAL 9000 says, will it come with AI or will you draw the line at AI?
Will it come with AI? Yeah, I'm going to use Apple Intelligence on it. What? So I could, you know, not use these Apple bands, and I could go with a band that needs to be screwed in. But the problem with the screw-in band is it takes heaps more space inside. For those that aren't aware what a screw-in band is, it's kind of like this, but there's a thing here that when it's you don't slide it in, it kind of fits in place, and then you screw it on the inside. That's how other bands work. But the problem is you're taking up a chunk of space inside to screw it. So, where is the... So this is the TT Go watch, which is huge. Anyway, so they look the same, right? The slide in here, but they're not. So when you, I gotta remember how this opens. Right. Oh, the whole thing's got to be pulled apart. Forgot about that. I don't really want to unscrew it, I don't think. Bit hard to see, but inside here, like the band goes all the way in, and there's
John
this
Clayton
screw.
says there are also watch bands with spring-loaded pins.
Yeah, that won't. Yeah, that won't work on this. Yeah, I know. Like those really old ones that click in from the side, and you put them in. But that won't work on this. And they also still take too much space to get in. So the advantage with the Apple Watch bands is there are millions of them. Third-party ones, they're really cheap. They come in all sorts of colours, all sorts of sizes. They're like finding these bands that screw in, really hard. You look at watch bands anywhere, and you can pick these up for like $2-3 for a watch band, and you can get the two-part and the whatever, anything that basically will work with an Apple Watch, you can get that will work with this. So that's why I chose that direction. Nothing to do with Apple. Their ecosystem for it is it's massive. So which way does that go? Can't remember. Anyway, I mean, they've got a metal chassis, and I spent ages looking for a metal chassis, right? With theirs, if you look at it, they don't have a teardrop. It's really hard to see with the colour, but theirs is not teardrop because it's screwed in from the back, right? So you can even see I can kind of pull on the corners and it comes a bit. There's nothing really gripping it. A little bit of grip, but not a lot. But it's screwed inside here. I couldn't find anyone anywhere that had these cases. I mean, a metal case would be nice, a prefabricated metal case, but that's just not going to happen. But as I said, 5-axis mill, and I should be able to mill this as one piece in a without having to modify, or without having to do so many operations, manual operations. Hey Stephen, I don't. PETG is actually more flexible. The carbon fiber one, I don't know how much that's going to fix it, but I don't particularly want to be, like printing them in PETG carbon fiber won't solve. Well, I don't know. As I said, they need to be manufacturable and they need to be affordable. I could try. I mean, there's other carbon fiber. It doesn't have to be PETG. Anyway, the point is, I need to get on to finishing this. So I've been kind of waiting for my aha moment to come, where I go, that's what I need to do. Right, that'll fix it. I don't really want my aha moment to be, let me try these 10 different materials. How How much would that be printed in metal? I don't know. Oh, I reckon it'd be expensive. Very expensive. With this many. Wait, you mean printed printed metal, not milled. So the problem with the printed metal is in my opinion, it looks terrible. Like, yeah, I've seen prints from, that have been done, metal prints, and they're great for parts and stuff, but as a finished thing, I don't know. I mean, will JLC do an instant quote? Yeah, the surface is not smooth. It's not smooth, but it doesn't look nice. Like it's not a, like it looks like it's a splotchy finish. Does that make sense? JLC 3D printing. What? Hang on, I've got to change things. Sorry. Here we go. JLC 3D printing, tipped cookies. Let's see if we can get a quote. Let's just go. I'll go for one piece of it, right? Front. Okay, so what am I printing it in? SLM metal. Color. Build time 168 hours. Oh, for $8. I mean, I do it as one piece, right? Like I wouldn't do it two halves. That's designed to have no overhang. I wonder what would happen. Why is it 100 from start to physical production? It's ready for delivery, right? 168 hours. So what's if? Oh, that's not what I want. Let's go here for a second. So if I join it together.
John Clayton says have to be two pieces to put the board in it, right?
No. This was designed to be one piece as well. I wanted to see if I could design it and make it millable. And this is millable, but it would be excruciatingly painful to do on a 3-axis mill. But no, it doesn't have to be in two pieces. That's why I'm going to join this together, just for the moment. So I can upload it to them to see how it changes the price. Combined. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go. How do I delete that? Delete. Add a file. Yeah, I'll do a quote for milling as well, but I reckon that would be horrifically expensive. The other problem with this is it doesn't scale, right? But anyway, if I go, so metal, okay, it's gone to $12.25, so an extra $4.25. Okay, I'm just curious to see what CNC machining. I'm going to need to output a step for that. File, export, step. V10, V4 combined. Okay, I'm just exporting a step. Clock case custom. Do I have to fill that in, do I? Upload. What happened? Oh, $40 aluminium 6061. Okay. So we want a surface finish, nice surface finish. Blasting, anodizing. Yeah. Black, matte black. I have no idea what this is, what I need there. No threads, sub-assembly, no. Yeah, do it in titanium. So $40, 34 is a, you know, not cheap. And when you... Okay, so it does go, it scales better than I expected. So $27 each for 10. It doesn't show you the manufacturing time on this, does it? Oh, 6 days during the holidays. I don't know what it would be. Not. So that's interesting. That's what would it be in stainless steel? 520 for 10, so $52 each. And how much would a one-off be? I don't want to know. $70. So $27 isn't bad, but it's $27 plus shipping, right? So, you know, $30 each, thereabouts. Assuming that it worked and it, you know, I'm quite surprised actually at that price. But it's amazing what you can do with a, oh, hang on, it's down to 6 days. If I go economic, 11 days, does the price change? The price goes down, oh, $5, okay. Hey, Wagon Loads. Well, I was going to build some PCBs, but my microscope camera died, which means I would have sat there the whole time doing stuff and no one would have got to see anything. So instead we've been talking about printers, 3D printers, and tiny watch cases and stuff. It would be horrific. It'd be $500 for one if I got it done locally. So, I mean, obviously the 3D printing, so that was $12 for one, but I did 10 on that. Right, see, it doesn't scale. That's what I found last time. So, shipping has gone up. Excuse me. Shipping's gone up more than double, but the price per unit for SLM printing hasn't gone down. It's the same. So there's no advantage. I mean, sure, it's only $12 each, but there's no there's no scaling of it. But I'm surprised that there's scaling on the milling. Yeah, better to get them machined, absolutely. Well, it depends on, again, people aren't going to, I don't think people, some people might pay an extra $30 to get a metal one, to get a machined one, but I don't think everyone will. And I don't think making it default to come with one. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen something about a microscope based on the Pi. Yeah, I built one. I've got the microscope lens. It's okay, but mine's a microscope that fits on my trinocular, like my physical microscope, right? So I don't like using digital only microscopes. You don't get. It's not a Raspberry Pi thing. It's just a digital only microscope doesn't give you any depth perception, which is a problem for me anyway. This unit at a time, process printing multi-tooled. No, but it's the other way around, Stephen. The milling option, the price goes down as the quantity goes up. The printing, the price doesn't go down as the quantity goes up. Maybe it will on a different machine, or a different process, but for the SLM metal, one of them is $12. 10 of them is $12 each. So I haven't tried PCB way. No. What? I just click on PCB way. Why did it? Anyway. CNC 3D printing. Oh, they don't give you. Yeah, you got to go and get a This is 3D printing, right? Oh, it gives a price, so hang on, but that's standard white material. No, what do I want? Wait, 3D printing in aluminium? What? I'm on 3D printing. How are they 3D printing aluminium? That's item. Maybe it is. Maybe they're 3D print. It is. I didn't know that was an option. But anyway, wow. So that's more than double the price. Although it's printing in aluminium. What is this printing in? Stainless steel. Stainless steel. No. That's simply no. Wall thickness, risk taken. Okay, so they're double the price for a one-off. More than double. But if I go 10, right, they're still double the price. So 232 compared to 122. Don't be titanium. Oh, come on, I gotta try it. 232. Oh my god. $127 each. For a case. Anyway, okay, let's find out about CNCing. I'm just curious now. CNC, aluminium, 6061, color, yeah, quantity, 1, so $38. So this is surface, so this is not finished appearance, high appearance requirement, surface clean, smooth out obvious flaws. So this didn't have a So this one was with a surface finish, bead blasting and anodizing. Oh, I thought I chose black. Must have reset it. Right, same price though. So this gives me a matte black anodizing. This is not giving me an anodizing option, unless I need to do that. Not giving me black. It's only giving me silver white.
John Clayton says Cian. It says aluminum LOL.
What are you talking about? I know it's aluminum. This is aluminium, but it's got bead blasting and anodizing in black. So I end up with a black anodized aluminium piece, right? This is not giving me that option. It might start silver white, but what I get is black anodized. So this isn't giving me that option, and surface finishes in the drop down. Hey Steve, which drop down? Oh my god, right here, surface finish. Can I just say, I love...
John Clayton says just kidding, aluminum versus aluminium.
Ah, right, okay. It's aluminium. I like when you click on the surface finish thing, the little icon that pops up looks like the MasterCard icon. In other words, if you click on this thing, it's going to cost you big bucks. Look, it's like a little MasterCard. Anyway, anodized and black. Okay, submit. Rack marks are inherent, whatever, okay. So, 272. So has that worked out the same price now? $10. 272. Right, so that looks like it's the same. 271, 272. Interesting. Thanks, Steve, for pointing that out. But their 3D printing is much more expensive. Although it scales down, it scales with quantity. So, Keen's probably not watching. I know Keen's done 3D printing with JLC before. So I was originally looking at using JLC to do my, to get them to just print up a whole bunch of Reflow Master Pro cases, so I don't have to print them here. You know, get them to print 100 of them in a nicer material, whatever. And their pricing didn't scale well. Like, it does scale if I choose not material, like if I do FDM or whatever. But the shipping cost was insane. Like, it more than doubled the cost of each print because of the shipping. I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Australia, the most bigoted country in the world. Oh, are we asking wagon loads? Or are you asking me? Maybe you're asking wagon loads. No, Apple would not be using PCBWay. No, they have their own machines. They do a lot of that. They do a lot of it in-house. Not for mass production. No. But still, their in-house capabilities for prototyping all this stuff in different metals is insane. So I don't print AL. What? Okay, I'm not sure I understand the conversation. Anyway, and the mill downstairs, 15 printers, jeez. No, well, that's what I'm looking at, Steve. I don't know where you jumped in the chat, but we were talking about the issues of printing what I want to be my final revision new case, which is currently in 2 parts, designed to print in 2 parts, but has some issues, not with the printing, but with the holding the watch band. But this was designed to be actually printed in 1 part, but the overhang system is just for the slots is not great, but it was designed to also be millable. But milling these on a 3-axis mill is just like, but which is why we started looking here. I can't remember who it was. Who was it? Johnny who suggested see what it cost at JLC, and it's actually quite surprising. So doing SLM, I've not seen nice quality SLM, not just from JLC, from anyone. Just in terms of its surface finish, it's not smooth, and it's kind of looks patchy in color. It won't look anywhere near as nice as milled. That's the point. It's a very let's SLM print examples. Like it's got a so it's got this like rough finish, right? It's not smooth, and it's got this splotchy color. I know some of that is just lighting, but it's actually got here. It's, you know what I mean? I don't think it would be nice at all for a watch. Personally, like I wouldn't want to sell them. I wouldn't even give them away. Really, it's not nice, right? I don't think. But you know, if it, and I guess it depends on the print, right, or the printer. I mean, these don't look terrible, but see the splotchy, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I think milled will end up looking much, much nicer. And I'm not sure whether this is just the it looks cast, but it looks lower resolution than cast, I think. Like for a mechanical part, I think it looks fine, but not for a watch case, I don't think. Sure, that's what we were just getting quotes on. So this is to CNC it out of aluminium and then anodize it black. $27 each. As I said, I designed this to be CNC'd, and I could simplify it too, if it's going to be CNC'd, because I can remove the thing. Yeah. Anyway, although tolerances, I'm not going to know right until I get it. I could do it on my CNC. It would take me probably about 2 days per case, and I'd probably ruin 5 or 6 of them in my attempts to even get the first one, because there's just too many operations, and I'd have to design at least 3 or 4 sets of soft jaws to hold it for the various stages. Like it'd be a nightmare. I'd never want to make them myself. I'd never want to manufacture them myself. I might make one for myself, maybe. I don't know. Hey Alex, how you doing? I'm just doing, these are all just printed at 0.2. I printed them at 0.1. Oh, you can't see how. Sorry. This is just printed at 0.2. I printed at 0.1 and 0.05. And honestly, it made the quality of the edges of here, it made them worse. It tried printing too much. Like, it tried putting too much in there. This is printed with Arachne, or whatever it's called. But which it does print better than if I just do it without. But it also increases the print time by about 20%. Yeah, there'd be $3,000 a case if I did them myself. And I don't think I would. I don't even think I've got the patience to do one of them myself. I've actually got stock downstairs. I bought aluminium specifically in strips that are this wide, long strips like this, that I could cut up into bits, specifically to be able to mill some of these. But yeah, just doing all the different operations, terrible. Can you CNC a test one out of plexiglass just to get the measurements right? It's irrelevant what I'm CNCing it out of. Oh, you mean with JLC? Like, get them to do one? I would think that the material they're CNCing from would change the tolerances. Right, and plastic's only a tiny bit cheaper. ABS black. Don't even know what POM is. Bakelite, FR4 green, polycarbonate. Copper alloy. Would that, or 360? Would that make it conductive? Yeah, titanium is insane expensive. Steel alloy, stainless steel. $52 each. View our finishes. Anodizing looks so good. Hand polishing. Maybe we should get them hand polished. What do you reckon? Hey Graham. Fashionably late. Let's do aluminium surface finish. Curious to see what hard. So that's so hard coat anodizing is only $1 each more, which is surprising. What about brushing and anodizing? So yeah, interesting. I like that there's different colours with the anodizing. Sky blue. I think this is sky blue. Anyway, titanium, you'd have to switch the display also to fit it being ultra expensive to sapphire. What? Yeah. Anyway, I need to solve where the motor's going to go. The haptic motor's going to go first. I don't think I would get an SLM one done, but I might spend $50 getting one milled, maybe. What about, sorry, I just had an idea. Stupid idea. I'm just curious to see what the price difference would be. So what's if I, back, front. So what's if I just exported this? Okay, so just hold on 1 second. I'm just exporting out of Fusion. P10 V4 front. So if I just did the front, I tempted to just do 1 milled. Delete. Aluminium, black, matte, 36. Just want to see what the difference in price was. Right, so it's only $3 less to do just the front piece, where the back could be 3D printed still. I was just curious to see how much it would go down. Like that would remove quite a few operations. But when it's on a 5-axis machine anyway, I guess it really doesn't matter. Okay, interesting. Oh, I feel like I want to order one now. Hey, Technubulus. How much would it cost to make it out of unobtainium? Delete. So 1, aluminium, black. No threads. So $40. So $57. I wonder if they can combine shipping if it's with PCBs. I don't know. Hey Sid, that's okay. You haven't missed out on anything. Both you and Graham and Technubulus just been chewing the fat. So $40 to get one of these CNC'd. Black anodized aluminium. Oh, tempting. Very tempting. So, has anyone bought me a 5-axis machine yet? I'm just waiting. I'm sure one's going to turn up at my front door any moment. Any moment. There's so many cool 5-axis machines on the market now, and they've come down in price so much, but they're still way too expensive for anything I need. Doesn't allow PCB and CNC combined chip. They don't? Thank you for confirming that, Conrado. Hello, by the way. How much was copper? Copper was only a little bit. Yeah, 51. Oh, sorry, $51 for copper alloy. Ooh, mirror polish. I wonder what mirror polish will cost. Oh, $1 more, $2 more. That's crazy. 60k plus for a 5-axis. Yeah, more like 100k US dollars for a 5-axis mill with even a small one that really can't do more than that size, with auto tool changing and blah 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 blah, would if you CNC the back and PCB way does the front, that wouldn't be cheap. PCB way is super expensive, and their shipping is also expensive. I'd pay double shipping. Doesn't make any sense. Change surface roughness to 1.6. It went to $55. So what was the difference there? 51. An extra $6. Not going to get the whole side threaded. Get them correct. Well, the holes they're just open. They're the screw goes into the PCB, into the SMT nut. So the hole Yeah, if the holes are undersized, that's a problem. But if they can be oversized, because they the screw doesn't go screw into them. Does that make sense? Yeah, the screw doesn't screw into them. But there's a lot about this I could make. Like the thickness here. Like that could be reduced, right? Because it's metal. Like that's that thick because of plastic. You know, the minimum number of layers and stuff. Yeah, it's okay, Peter. All good. It is really reasonably priced, Steve. Like I'm actually quite surprised. I mean, it's probably been well over a year since the last time I looked at uploading anything on here to get a price. And the range of things that they do is much, much broader now than what it was when I looked last time. Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, a one-off, whatever. But if you say $55.50 for one, right? But then you change that to 10. Oops, that's not 10. You know, and it works out to $39 each. Right? Like 1 to 10 is not a huge quantity. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, producing hundreds of them. That's pretty good. Like it's... I'm quite surprised. Anyway. Okay, so if I solve... I still have to solve it for a 3D print, right? No, let's just... I'm just going to look at one thing. I know how many watches I've sold, so I know how many I'm not going to sell. Right? But, for argument's sake, well, their price only goes up to 20. I want to see what this is. Okay, so anything above 20, you need to get a quote. Is that the case? Right, I need to get a quote. Anything above 20, above 20. 20 works out to $26 each. One thing to bear in mind is that they do review the submission and sometimes change the price up quite a bit, but I'd say that's on the more complex jobs. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like the JLC, the masters in the art of charging you extra for obscure things that they have on their website that you can't find. Yeah, I know all about that. And this is a complex mill. I mean, there's no threading, but every single surface has got roundness to it, right? You know, the button holes in the USB holes, they're rounded. Everything's rounded. Everything's curved. I mean, curves are good when you're milling. I get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do sharp corners. Like you know, I've even rounded the insides around these because you can't get a sharp corner, right? So the whole idea is that when milling, and I don't care about the sharp corners on those, they won't be there. But, you know, this whole thing, I reckon they'd look at this and they'd go, yeah, okay, that's going to be double the price, I reckon. Coupons, save $30. Oh, not for milling. Okay, anyway. I've had these controller boxes for a one-wheel project that almost doubled the initial quote price. Really? Currently missing the backside with the hole and the half dome, like the Apple Watch has for the sensors. I'm not missing that. I don't have those sensors on the board. To dry some NeoPixels before $7.50 to dry them before assembly. Really? They charge... Was it their NeoPixels in stock? Like the ones, like they were supplying their own? And they charged you to dry them first? That's bullshit. Really? the LEDs should be kept in a proper dehumidifying cabinet. That is insane. Modify the CAD files for any milling. Do bit changes. Would it be cheaper? I don't know. It won't be cheaper on this quoting system. I'd agree with Conrado that, like, guaranteed they'd review my shape and they'd double the cost of it, I reckon. You know, they've loaded it in and they've got some algorithm that, you know, checks its size and checks a few things to come up with a rough quote. So they're drying their own components and charging you for that process when it should be in the dry, like in a proper thing anyway. Oh, right, yeah, that would make it more complex, I guess. I don't know, yeah. Well, I need to wait till they're back from holidays, maybe. I can try putting a quote in just to see. But I don't want to put it in and pay for it and then get told it's going to be more and then get it refunded. That's just silly. They need an RMP with closed firmware for... Well, they don't. What they need is to use a proper SMT storage system for LEDs. Like, you can buy them. That's what they're designed for. There's these big cabinets that you put all your moisture sensitive components in, and it keeps them in perfect condition, and you take them out as you use them and you don't have to dry them first. So that is ridiculous that they don't do that. That is crazy. Oh, do they do you an option to do that? You can get a price beforehand? Okay. Anyway, look, I might look at doing it. I need to solve, as I said, I need to solve the haptic motor thing. There's no point getting one of these done without the little section for the haptic motor to lock in. So you can only pay after they're reviewed. Okay. Well, I might do it just to see, as an example, see if they charge more or not. But, you know, I'd much rather have the option of manufacturing these myself as I need them. And 3D printing is the only way. And I'm not looking at I don't want to do SLS or anything like that. So, just select from the same shape. There isn't a front and back. If they're milled, it's one piece. It's only front and back because of the 3D printing. So, how did the standoff work out? Solve the solderability? Solve the solderability. What do you mean? You're talking about the SMT nuts? Oh, well, you're talking about from my RGB Touch? Because these are different. I mean, there's the same type of nut, but these are smaller. These are M2 ones. So yeah, I made the footprint, a totally custom footprint for these on here, which yeah, they seem to be great. I've given them a little bit of abuse with the case and didn't seem to have any problem. But I don't have the correct length nuts, so I have to be careful. But for my RGB Touch, yeah, I have a modified footprint now with a stencil, but I haven't had to manufacture any more yet, so I don't know. I still have stock of the original large batch that I did, so I've not been able to try that new footprint to make sure, to see if it's any better. But yeah, I just oversized it, the pads, and I let it creep out and in a little bit. I don't mind if it sucks solder a little bit into the middle of the SMT nut, because I don't need these screw to go all the way to the PCB. There's a little bit of a gap, so I'd rather have more holding it there. I'm more worried about ripping the pad off now. But you know, there's not a lot I can do about that other than sticking wires in there, and you've got to be careful, because the more wires I stick, it might allow for some mechanical strength through the board, but it will remove mechanical strength laterally across the thing, right? So I could end up with less strength this way while I get more strength this way. Does that make sense? So I'm a bit worried about doing that, but we'll see. I've only got like a bag of these. I don't have a lot of these nuts. The M2 ones. So, but they can be, like, I can buy them on reels to be pick and placed, but I got to buy them on reels at 2,000, and so that's, you know, 1,000 watches, and I'll be lucky if I sell more than 50 of them, of this revision. So I might, yeah, it's a hard call, but I think this is the best option for holding the whole case together. So yeah, like, there's nothing worse than shipping someone a watch and the assembly of it isn't stable enough that it, you knock it with your arm. I mean, I'd knock my watch all the time. I'm surprised that I haven't smashed it to bits. Like, I'll just be doing something, not thinking, and bang, crash against something metal. Last thing I want is someone does that and the screen goes flying off and, everything falls apart. Yeah. Sorry. Hey Matt, how you doing? I think you've joined just at the right time to... Oh, so should I show... I'm going to quickly show you something. I shouldn't, but I will. Hang on, I've got to pull it apart. No, I'll just do this. This is something that's not released yet. I'm only bringing this up now because of Steve's comment about using a ReflowMaster Pro with closed firmware for drying. So I've got this. This is just a prototype, which obviously works. Oh, hang on. Let me just do this. This is a new add-on board. It's just a BME 280. So technically, any BME 280 add-on board. Is that one? Nope. I had a different one lying over here, the Core Electronics one. Anyway, I have come up with some extra firmware for my next 3.1 update for ReflowMaster Pro that lets you connect a BME 280 to the STEMMA QT port. So I'm finally doing something with the STEMMA QT port on the RMP. There's the RMP. It's got a STEMMA QT port here. Well, it's a STEMMA QT port, like an SH port, although it's just 2 IO ground and 3.3 volts, right? But that's what people use for I2C expansion. So the idea is that you can plug this into that, and when with some long cables, I think maybe 30 centimeters. I'm running it at 100 kilohertz, the bus, so you can get maybe longer than 30, I don't know, or 100. Anyway, the idea is that you plug this, you put this inside your oven. You can't reflow. This is for baking, in bake mode. So you put it inside your oven and it'll give you the humidity inside the oven as you're baking. .10 with I2C. The limit on distance with I2C is the bus speed. So the faster the bus runs, the shorter the length. I think
Chad has disconnected.
Oh, be quiet. So I think at 400 kilohertz, it's 30 centimeters, I think. and I think it could be 100 centimeters at 100 kilohertz. Is Food Enthusiast also, can you share your V4? Not at the moment, John. As I said, I need to finish it first. Well, I need to keep working on it. So it's not in a state that it's in a shareable thing. Sorry, mate. When it is, I'll release STLs for it. Yeah, step files for it. Use it for maintaining. Okay, interesting. Right, but at what speed though? You're still limited. Distance is limited on the frequency. But anyway, definitely sell them in pairs for when they get left in during reflow. Yeah, that's a concern, right? Yeah. I'm worried about how people are going to get them in there and how they're going to leave it. Yeah, so 100 kilohertz, right. And your cable is kept low. It should go quite a ways. Well, I'm just going by what the specs say, the research I did on the specs. So yeah, it's a bit of a worry about how this is going to be left in there. And the other thing that I've done, which I haven't started working on yet, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to, is a third thermocouple update add-on. Why is that not in focus now? So this is not using I2C, even though it's connecting to the same bus. So you can't. I on purpose don't have pass-through on any of these because these are not compatible. That is actually SPI, hacked SPI, and that's I2C. But anyway, so you connect this to there and a thermocouple. So it gives you a third thermocouple, which I'm not quite sure if that's going to be useful or not for anyone. And I haven't started working on firmware support for that yet. But I thought putting a humidity sensor in there would be really cool. So what I can do is it can detect if it's on the bus, right? If it's plugged in, if it's on the bus. And if you try to go to reflow while this is connected, it can go beep, 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 detected humidity sensor on the bus. Please make sure it's not in your oven, right? I can put kind of a warning on screen that you need to go pass. Oh, you already wrote that. So I'm just looking back. So Steve wrote, detect if you select reflow profile and warn. Yeah. I haven't implemented that yet, but yeah, then Matt just said the same thing. License files to unlock the extra thermocouple. Monthly fee, yeah. Yeah, no. Free update. In the closed firmware, free update. I'm not sure why people would, like, I don't know how I would integrate a third thermocouple. I don't think a third thermocouple in the oven with the other two that does reflow, like calculations, I don't think that makes sense. I don't think 3 is going to give you anything that 2 can't give you. It's just going to confuse people what they should be doing with the third one. But I know that for non-reflow type use cases, like people have, people using Reflow Master Pros to cure meat and stuff, which I don't even know how well it's working for them. People have asked about extra temperature sensors, and like it could be an extra temperature sensor that's connected to the outside for whatever reason. I don't know. But I'm still unsure how I would integrate this into the UI and into the functionality. This makes sense. This will just give you a display of the humidity. Well, I've already got that working, right? Where it shows you on the screen the humidity based on whatever this is reading, right? The temperature is useless because you've already got the thermocouples in there. It'll give you a much more accurate temperature reading. But it's the humidity part of this that I'm interested in. So, and I can have an alert that if the humidity is too high, you know, beep, beep, beep you or whatever. But I can't think of a use case for this right now. An integration use case that would make any sense. But I've got it here so I can prototype with it anyway, just in case. Yeah. Okay, I've waffled on for over 2 hours now about absolutely nothing. How good am I? What an absolute waste of your time. I'm sorry. Really, like an absolute waste. Okay, well I think on that note, we're going to wind this up. I will get I'll get some step files together at some point, John. Sorry, I'm not releasing this Fusion file. It's got a whole bunch of other stuff in it, and it's really messy file. And I know you just want to play, but you can play off the step file just as easily. It would actually be much easier to work off the step file, but I've got a few more things to tweak on it, and then I'll publish it. Oh, Master Mark, hello. Good to see you too. Happy New Year. Thanks for all the waffle. Oh, now I'm hungry. Looking forward to seeing the meal pass. I'll post back in my Discord once I've got a price off them. If the price doesn't go up too much, I might look at doing it. And if the price does go up a lot, like if they double it or whatever, I probably won't do it. I don't have the yeah, I don't have the spare funds to to just throw away money on I wonder what this would be like right now. So yeah, it's a shame, but it is what it is. And I might at some stage start milling.
Super chat.
What are you doing, Matt? Thank you, Matt. That's your third super chat on a live stream. Thank you, Matt. That'll be for coffee. I don't think there's any waffles anywhere around here. But oh god, I really actually. I'm not a huge maple syrup fan normally, but I can really go waffles with maple syrup or hot chocolate sauce. Oh, where's the nearest waffle place? Who said waffle? I started with waffle, didn't I? Damn it. Oh well. Matt, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's going to go to my coffee that I'm about to order. Thank you all for watching. I apologize. I will get my microscope camera sorted. I'll get that fixed. I'll buy a new one or whatever. And I'll also find a solution. Now that I've got the camera rig and everything there, I'll find a solution for proper recording over there. And I'll make sure that for next week I'll set myself up better, or at least got the microscope working again. Daniel, cool. Thanks for saying hi, and thanks for using Tiny S3. Have a smooth day. I forgot it's summer in Melbourne. 0. Yeah, it's not hot today, but yesterday and the day before were so humidly disgusting, like unbearable. And on Monday, I ran my line for like 6 hours straight.
Super sticker!
Ryan, what are you doing? Thank you. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate it. And Happy New Year. Goal. Yeah, it was like... by the time I'd shut the line down, like I was up here sweating. I was just like dripping. It was disgusting. -4 there last night. Yeah, that's too cold. Can't just everyone be 21 degrees all the time? That would be so much easier. Anyway, okay, I'm minus... What? Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate that. And to be your first, that's awesome. Thank you. A little cute animation as well. -17. You're in Canada, aren't you? Gerald42? Are you in Canada? I think you're in Canada. That is crazy weather.
Super chat!
What's everyone doing? Stop! Steve, what are you doing? Oh my god, I gotta shut this thing down before people stop wasting their money. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do. Sorry. Thank you, Steve. And Ryan. And Matt. I do appreciate it. Make a board that always makes it 29 degrees everywhere. So it just lies. A temperature sensor that lies. Okay, I'm going to go get a coffee. Hope everyone has a great day. I will solve my technical difficulties. I promise I will. And next week, get back to building stuff and making stuff. Would be better to PayPal. Oh, I don't know about that. PayPal, evil. I still use them, but evil. Okay, I'm going. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a great week.